We got to ask about Monty Brown. It's being written here that he's kind of frustrated with his declining push. He feels like it's been scaled back ever since Dutch Mantel lost some power in the office. I guess there is a discussion that he's going to be programmed with Triton, and Monty thinks that's setting him up to fail because Monty knows that he's kind of green himself and he's not going to be able to carry another green fellow. I think that's fairly logical of Monty Brown. Was he right to be annoyed with this idea?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Again, this is a set of circumstances that Dixie wanted change in the creative, and at this point was trying to maneuver and okay, get Dusty in there. But Dusty, to his defense, he didn't know who Monty was, and like any person that gets into that creative role, they need to go with, uh, I'll say, talent that they're familiar with, that they've had success with, and put their head around. It's not that Dusty didn't like Monty. He just wanted to kind of say, okay, let me get the pieces of the pieces that I want on the chessboard to play chess the way I want to play. And Monty, again, not that Dusty didn't like him, but he was going to take him from a different lane, if you will. And prior to that, it was Jeff and Dutch and others, and Dutch had a real good relationship with him. And so, whoever's reporting on this, they probably got some stuff that was close to accurate, that Monty was frustrated because, quote unquote, man, Dutch is out of power. I'm kind of getting lost in the shuffle. And there was a little bit of validity, or a lot of validity to that.
I want to ask you about Jeff Hardy because there's something written in the torch that I think is interesting. And I'm wondering, do you think it's changed? Because I used to hear this all the time. I don't know if it's as big of a deal now. The torch would write Jeff Hardy shows up on time for most shows, but wrestlers say his new habit is leaving the building long before the show comes to an end. And I know that for young talent, that was always the rule. And I guess it's sort of the unwritten rule now that you stay and watch everybody's matches. But respectfully, I can't tell you how many times I hear about a guy doing his job, and when he's finished, he jumps in the shower, grabs his bag, and he's gone long before the show is over because he wants to beat the traffic, get to the next town, get to his next flight, get back to the hotel, get dinner before the restaurants close, whatever the case may be. Did the professional etiquette of staying to the end of the show go away and become a thing of the past, like the limp handshake, or where do you land on that?
Well, and back in that house show grind where you can really, I'll say, sit under the learning tree and absorb and watch top guys do what top guys do, and have the opportunity to either ride in the car with them or chat with them. But, yes, it was, I don't call it a pet peeve. It was just, a guy starting a territory, or starting the territory in the Tennessee days, or the WWF days, and out on the road, and they're on second match, third match, and they come back, shower, and leave before first intermission. And they're guys that really need to learn and understand. You better believe it rubs people the wrong way, and they're really missing the opportunity. And because it to me, it's just a blatant signal and saying, look, I'm more interested in not learning or doing whatever than learning. Guy like Jeff Hardy, he wasn't going to learn anything sticking around at a TV taping, watching 4 to 6 minute TV matches. And so, again, another clickbait news article that served its purpose. But for the most part, I am a huge proponent of young guys. I don't care if it's TV or not. And I'm, if you really want to drill down to it, I encourage guys, don't watch a monitor. I know some buildings you have to, but if you can get up in the, even backstage, if you can get up and listen to the people, there's so much you can learn by listening that I just think is slowly dwindling away. I don't say a lost art, but there's a lot to learn to reading the crowd and listening and watching. But more importantly, I just think listening. So anyhow, yeah, that's my take on it.
Let's talk about Chris Candido. He's going to make the torch, and it says Chris Candido has a good reputation in the locker room thus far. He deserves a second chance, one wrestler said. He's not a great worker like he used to be, but he still tries hard, another wrestler would say. And it's made clear here that Tammy Sitch has not accompanied Chris on any of his trips to Florida. So maybe I don't know, it feels like a backhanded compliment, but a compliment none the least. We'll take it where we can. Did Tammy come to any of these early shows? I know that he's not here long before he loses his life, but was she a presence at all in TNA?
I don't believe not one time. My best recollection, Tammy never showed to a TNA show.
Were you guys not interested in doing anything with her? I mean,
I think at this point, and I may be wrong, but I don't think Chris was interested in bringing her around, or Chris was trying to get back on his feet, and maybe that was coming later once he got more on firm footing. But to my knowledge, Chris was, and he, I think the Chris I saw at this point, Chris came to Tennessee when he was a teenager. And then, I'll call it the Smoky Mountain and different times, but, the WWF run. But I think as Chris grew as a performer, by this stage, yes, it was at the end of his life. We just didn't know it, but he had turned into a hell of a season, more than just I don't say he was ever just a high spot guy, but man, he was a polished worker in a lot of ways. But no, Tammy wasn't ever a part of the discussion to my best knowledge.
This may have also been where, respectfully, Tammy didn't look like Tammy. So maybe she wasn't interested in making appearances.
Gotcha.
So let's talk about the pay-per-view. We're finally here, and what a pay-per-view it is. Dave would have this as the headline. TNA streak of first-rate pay-per-views came to an abrupt halt with the Destination X show that looked bad on paper, and unlike other recent shows, didn't have a few off-the-charts matches to save it. This was a show that showcased the worst the company has to offer. Many of the matchups didn't look good, and many the people just didn't care about. The booking was badly overdone, with repeated run-ins and ref bumps. The crowd, which has helped make the TNA shows to see on pay-per-view in recent months, couldn't save this. It's as if they weren't nearly as hot as usual, partially because they were given little, aside from the X Division Challenge, to get excited about. So it's a full house, 775 fans, but Dave is down on it. When you think about 2005, is that a year where the company is kind of in transition? Would that be a nice way to describe it?
We knew, yes, transition, hit a plateau. Just where were we going with all of it? I mean, we had, man, just the whole journey and getting to do My World Weekly and when we do the TNA episodes, you can just see so many things, hindsight and clarity. But when you drill down on 2005 and you think through Fox Sports Net and prior to Spike and the talent and the Dusty, I'll call it experiment and all that, Dusty taking the reins here. Again, he's, a generation above me that we just didn't hit the mark. I'm not saying by any stretch I always hit the mark, or me and my crew hit the mark. But on this card, when you look at it, I don't think there were any guaranteed slam dunks, show stealing, quote unquote, total nonstop action matches, a la whether it was a tag or a single, but enough of the X Division style. And we got a little top heavy with, again, you're talking about the year of transition. I won't get too far into the matches, but I think we got a little top heavy of brand name versus brand name. And that is when TNA would always get off kilter and evoke the emotion. Man, have they lost their way? Are they in transition? Put it politely, that was kind of a bad show. Meltzer, he said came to a screeching halt. That when you look in the show in totality, we didn't have any, as the kids say today, we didn't have one banger on it, pal.